Thank you. Good evening. Tonight we want to start by re-examining that vexed old theological question, the Minister of Transport, does she exist? And what use is she in our everyday lives? Some people say, if she's up there somewhere, why doesn't she give us a sign? But she has, hundreds of them. Times have changed since the so-called Marple's age, for subsequent research seems to have proved that he actually existed, that he was a tender of vines and a builder of highways. Indeed, you can still see old carvings requesting him to go forth and multiply. And there are those who believe that he is going to come back amongst us again. So there it is. Some say, yes, the Minister of Transport does exist. Nobody could have invented her. And others still say, the whole thing is a myth. Has anyone ever seen her drive? Though, of course, the one area over which she has little sway is out there on the high seas.
Do you enjoy crossing the Atlantic, Captain?
Yes, sir. I've been on this route 11 years now. Bad navigation, I suppose.
The trouble really is that transport got tied up with class. At one time, only the upper classes could afford to travel. And to today, the theory is still that the further you're going, the more important you are. Millions are spent on new jets and liners, and nothing is done about the buses. There's that splendid remark of B. Lilly's, who was on one of the more massive Atlantic liners and said, what time does this place get to New York? Though there's still a great need for a really original suggestion on what to do with the scrapped queens. So far, suggestions have included turning them into Playboy clubs or floating cathedrals, or both at once, joining the Queen Mary and the Queen Elizabeth together to make the world's largest catamaran, or filling them up with oil and wrecking them off the coast of Liberia. But, you never know with these hot countries, you see. I mean, someone saw a sign last week at an Arab armoured vehicle depot which said, put a tiger in your tank. And indeed, we've just heard that the Desert Song has declared war on Fiddler on the Roof. In fact, Colonel Nasser, according to one of the papers, went to a clairvoyant today. And the clairvoyant looked at his palm and said, Colonel Nasser, you will die on a Jewish holiday. And Nasser said, yes, but which Jewish holiday? And the clairvoyant said, Colonel Nasser, any day you die will be a Jewish holiday. Getting carried away there. Back to transport. Because we are very fortunate in Britain. Whatever the chaos abroad, at home we know that on the roads everything is being planned by all-seeing, all-knowing officials from the ministry.
Good evening. Traffic. Now, I want to start this evening. I'd like to start this evening on a rather personal note. This, as I see it, without being controversial, is Great Britain. And this, as I see it, is London, or Oxford Street, as other people see it. Now, to get a decent, self-contained, economically viable, go-ahead, up-to-date, modernized transport system, all we need is a little organization and a large miracle. So therefore, I propose that from tomorrow, Oxford Street will be one way this way, and from Monday mornings onwards, until Tuesday mornings, when it will be one way this way, and vice versa on Wednesday, and so on throughout the week. Except when there's a month with an hour in it, when it will be one way this way on Monday, and the other way round on Tuesday. And arrangements will be made for people to stay overnight. And so the traffic will alternate in both directions all week, except Sundays when it is two-way, bank holidays when it is one way only halfway, and Saturdays when it is no way both ways. Now, there will be no traffic at all in Oxford Street on Saturday. This will cause widespread cuts in road accidents, especially in Oxford Street on Saturday. Now, to tie in with this, we have finally finalized the plans for Piccadilly Circus. It will look like this. Without the lions, of course. Now, traffic wardens. Now, this pointer here, you see, shows the prevailing wind direction and the marginal swing to the Tories. Now, here you can see that it is 7.5 to the right, which, if repeated over the whole country, would give sunny periods with isolated showers. Next. Fog. Now, on roads where there's fog, the coloured lights saying fog will light up, which are clearly visible for 25 yards, in good visibility. So if you can't see them, there's fog. Or alternatively, they'll be switched off, in which case there is no fog. Either way, you won't see them. Now, to pay for all this, we're hoping to use money. And there will be toll gates installed at either end of Oxford Street to help pay for the cost of installing toll gates at either end of Oxford. Well, thank you for listening. Don't drive yourself to drink. And now, I'd like to end on a much more serious note. Good night.
Mr. Ronnie Barker, who will later on be giving his famous lecture, How to Give the Kiss of Life Without Becoming Emotionally Involved. There's no doubt, though, that Britain owes its roads to two great nations, the Romans and the Irish. Though, needless to say, these days, there are problems. We've just heard that the Exeter bypass is blocked. All traffic is being diverted through the centre of Exeter. And traffic was so heavy over Putney Bridge today that one woman had to abandon her car and complete her driving test on foot. Though, of course, women will always be the targets for criticism, false often. One lady in Portsmouth, when accused this week of having no red light at the rear of her car, defended herself by saying indignantly that it wasn't that kind of car. The trouble is that men regard a car as a virility symbol. The men who drive fast sports cars like to think of themselves as swashbuckling he-men. So the man who drives a three-wheeler really has a lot of problems. Eventually, of course, England will be covered with motorways. The cities will be in lay-bys. Though, of course, highways have been going strong for hundreds of years. In medieval England, they even had road signs. Pedestrian crossing, dead flow, and F-bend ahead. But now, of course, they're everywhere, though they never had the parking problems we have. A Croydon man drove to work in London last week and found that the nearest place he could park his car was in Croydon, in his own garage. And even there he was only allowed to park for half an hour. And Rolls-Royce have just made a new car for General de Gaulle. It's a convertible. If you're driving it with the top open and it starts raining, you simply press a little button and it stops raining. The same model has another little button on the dashboard which doesn't do anything to the car, but when you press it, it just presses back to make you feel wanted. Which is rather a contrast with the clergyman in Suffolk who bought a very old used car but didn't have the vocabulary to get it started. But there's class in the different sort of car and the different sort of driver too, summed up by the bizarre, what's bizarre? I don't know, it's a new word. Write in on a postcard and we'll send you a copy. By the bizarre instance of the very rich man who said to his chauffeur, "Drive over a cliff, James, I'm committing suicide." But nowadays, really nobody walks. Even Shanks is going by car. And with mechanical transport multiplying and walking becoming the lost art. Clearly, people are going to need to be taught in years ahead, not the art of driving, but the art of walking.
In this high-speed day and age, man is rapidly forgetting the mode of transport that God gave him. Legs. These are all you need when you walk. There are many kinds of walking to choose from. There's ordinary walking, walking quickly, walking slowly, walking backwards, tripping, and falling over. Once you've grasped the idea, you'll be eager to try it. He's halfway there already. But for others, it takes a little longer. When you can walk, you're ready to go places. Remember, getaway people walk away with everything. Back to the drawing board. Walking is much easier than it looks, especially if you follow these basic rules. Stand upright with your arms beside you, then put out your right arm and your left leg. Then your left arm and your right leg. Walking enables you to make lots of new friends. It also means that you can go round puddles that a car would go straight through. New Red Rambler tickets now on sale enable you to walk as far as you like in any direction. Yes, it's fun, fun, fun all the way when you go to work on a leg.
Meanwhile, British Rail announced today that their carriages have all been fitted with a superb new heating device. Every 5 minutes precisely, a piece of hot coal flies in through the window. Mind you, trains can be confusing. One man thought St. Pancras was a cathedral and had his son christened there. The boy is called Luton, Bedford, Kettering and Manchester Central. And there's a sign in many trains, too, saying, I don't know if you've seen it, saying, smoking prohibited in this compartment, maximum fine for ignoring this notice, £5. And a London businessman was fined £5 last week. He hadn't smoked, but he'd ignored the notice all the way from Exeter to Waterloo. Next week, your peeves, please, on crime and all that goes with it, the police, the law and the criminals. On transport, you had more than on any other subject, a tribute to British Rail. F.M. Roberts of Stafford writes, in Euston Station, there's a sign reading, way out, gentlemen. Where do square gentlemen go in times of need? E. Collins of Blackwater, Surrey says, we've all seen signs which say, you are now entering Ramsgate, please drive carefully. Why don't we also see signs that say, you are now leaving Ramsgate, please drive like a lunatic? And H.J. Parker writes, quote, during a flight I made to New York a year ago, an elderly English lady went up to the stewardess when we were flying at about 15,000 feet and asked her for some sellotape and a newspaper. The stewardess asked her what she wanted them for, and the old lady said, there are no curtains on the lavatory window. Next week, your peeves on all sorts of crime on a postcard, please. This week, Julie Felix, considering one particular form of transport.
In the early morning rain, with a dollar in my hand and an aching in my heart, and my pockets full of sand, well, I'm a long way from home, and I miss my loved one so. In the early morning rain, with no place to go. Out on runway number 9, big 707 set to go, and I'm stuck here on the grass where the cold winds blow. Well, the liquor tasted good and the time went fast. Well, there she goes, my friend, she's a-running now at last. Hear the mighty engines roar, see the silver bird on high. She's away out westward bound, far above the clouds she'll fly, where the rain never falls and the sun always shines. She'll be heading on her home in about 3 hours' time. This old airport's got me down. It ain't no earthly good to me, 'cause I'm stuck here on the ground, cold and drunk as I can be. You can't jump a jet plane like you can a freight train, so I'd best be on my way in the early morning rain.
Actually, BOAC have a new way of making sure their passengers are happy. They encourage them to fly BEA first. One American airline, of course, to take the fear out of flying, tried using an in-flight commentary that was so horrific it took your mind off the real thing, with remarks like, "You may now smoke, the plane is on fire." But of course, each airline has its own characteristics. You can always tell Swedish Airlines because the stewardess fastens a seatbelt round both of you. You can tell El Al because they always fly at 25,000 feet, but to you, 15,000. You can always tell Air China because they're the only airline that flies sideways. You can tell Air Morocco because they don't have any emergency parachutes on board, only carpets. And of course, you can always tell a Greek airline because the captain is the one with the lifebelt. But in 20 years' time, foreign visitors to London won't need to make trips to see the rest of Britain. They'll see it all on the 300-mile drive from the new London airport. Now, the problem of... the problem of where to put London's new airport is worrying a lot of people, including the pilots of 6 BT-10s at present circling around Norfolk. But I'm not sure what BT-10s are, but still. But most people, of course, simply find it's quicker and more convenient to go by air.
Would you like a drink before dinner, sir?
Oh, yes, please, a dry martini.
Thank you, sir.
How long will it be before we get to New York?
Just under 3 hours, sir.
Thank you.
This is your captain speaking. We are now over halfway to New York. We're flying at an altitude of 32,000 feet and at a speed of 530 miles per hour. We will be arriving in New York at 8:40 local time. The weather there is cold but dry. Not that I care, because I am a bumblebee.
Your drink, sir?
Oh, thank you. What did the captain say just then?
Ain't nothing to worry about, sir. There may be a little turbulence.
Hello? This is your captain again. Hello? This is your bumblebee speaking. Switch that off. You're after my honey. to sting you. Ah!
Stewardess?
Yes, sir?
What was that?
There may be a little turbulence, sir.
No, I mean, what did the captain say about being a... Did he say it was a...
Expecting a little turbulence? Yes, sir, but we'll warn you in good time.
I stung him.
Miss Morse?
Yes, sir. No, sir, no.
I'm sorry to bother you with this purely routine inquiry, ladies and gentlemen, but do you remember seeing a man dressed like me, only with another stripe here and some wings up here?
The co-pilot.
Yeah? Right.
Is anything the matter?
Fasten your safety belts, please. We're expecting a little turbulence.
How much?
Just a little.
See? I switched it on. They can all hear you trying to steal my honey. Switch it off. No, because I'm a bee. For God's sake, switch it off. No, keep back or I'll sting you again.
Ladies and gentlemen, I ought to explain to any of you who may have heard some sort of strange noises coming over the intercom, sort of atmospherics and odd sounds and buzzing and all that sort of thing, that we are having a little trouble with the intercom, and we hope to rectify that shortly. Thank you very much. Thank you.
See, I've locked you out of my hive. You silly old navigator, because you're trying to steal my honey. I'm a bee.
Well, we seem to have picked up some kind of local radio station. Let me in or I'll pull your wings off. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, one of the questions that we always ask our passengers at this point is, are there any qualified pilots traveling as passengers? Because this is something we're frightfully interested in, even if it is a long shot. Any gliders? Any balloonists? Does anyone know anything about keeping bees? Beekeeping? No? No, right. Well. Thank you so much. Thank you. Just routine health measures. Thank you.
What's happening?
Nothing, sir. Just routine safety drill and a little turbulence.
Why is the captain keep buzzing?
No, that wasn't the captain, sir. That was the cabaret.
Oh. Captain?
Hello, this is your navigator speaking. We are now traveling at 7,000 feet. There is no cause for alarm. If you look out of the portholes on the right-hand side of the plane, you will see below you a small yellow dinghy. I am speaking to you from that dinghy. I repeat, there is no cause for alarm. Bon voyage.
And that's transport, really, in the era of jet travel when you can have breakfast in London and lunch at London Airport. Meanwhile, it was announced from the Ministry of Transport today that Mrs. Barbara Castle wants a man walking in front of every car singing the red flag. Meanwhile, don't forget, it's better to travel hopefully than to arrive. That's British Rail's story, and they're sticking to it. Good night.